Okay. Now, what we're going to be doing today is division of decimals. Okay? Now, there are two things you need to know how to do. You need to know how to convert decimals to fractions, and you need to know how to divide fractions. Okay? That's how to effectively do the type of division of decimals I'm going to be showing you today. Okay? Let's jump straight in. Now, you have 2.7 over 0.03, or 2.7 divided by 0.03 means the same thing. Okay, I convert both of them to fractions, so the point below the line means a 1. Numbers either side of the point represent a 0 below the line, and then I go on to drop the point, so that's 27 over 10, and 0.03, the point below the line represents 1, numbers either side of the point represent zeros below the line, so I go on to drop the point, and that's 003 over 100, which is basically 3 over 100. Okay, so I take that and say that's just 27 over 10 divided by 3 over 100. Now, if you know how to divide fractions, you would know that what you have to do is change the division sign to a multiplication sign and flip the second fraction. So 100 over 3, and so that would become 27 times 100 over 10 times 3. Okay, now for the division, I break 27 down into 9 and 3, 100 down into 10 times 10, and we have 10 times 3 at the bottom. So there's a 3 at the top and a 3 at the bottom. We cancel that out for 1 and 1. There's a 10 at the top and a 10 at the bottom. We cancel that out for 1 and 1. So we have 9 times 1. That's 9 times 1 again. That's 9 times 10. That's 90. And at the bottom, we just have 1 times 1. So that's 90 over 1, which is just 90. So 2.7 divided by 0.03 is 90. Once again, we have 1.2 divided by 1.5. So, first things first, convert to fractions. The point represents a 1 below the line. Numbers either side of the point represent zeros. I go on to drop the point, so that's 12 over 10, 1.5. Point represents 1 below the line. Numbers either side of the point represent zeros, so that's just 15 over 10 after you drop the point. Okay, moving on from that, you then say that's 12 over 10 divided by 15 over 10. Dividing fractions, you basically change the sign to multiplication, flip the second fraction, and we're on our way. So that's 12 times 10 over 15 times 10, or 10 times 15. Okay? What that leads to, you break down 12, so that's 3 times 4 times 10, and 10 times, break down 15, that's 3 times 5. So we have a 3 at the top and a 3 at the bottom. We cancel that out for 1 and 1. We have a 10 at the top and a 10 at the bottom. Cancel that out for 1 and 1. So at the top we have 1 times 4, that's 4. 4 times 1, that's 4. And at the bottom we have 1 times 1, which is 1. That 1 times 5 gets you 5. So 1.2 divided by 1.5 gives you 4 over 5. And if you want it as a decimal back again, you can convert that by doing long division. So 5 on the outside, 4 on the inside. Okay? How many 5s in 4? That's 0. Okay? We want to continue, so we add a point that allows us to add a 0. 5 in 40, that's 8. If you go down the 5 times table, and then you subtract, end up with zeros. So 4.5 as a decimal is 0.8. Okay? These are things you should know how to do before you get to the point where you're watching this video of division of decimals. Okay? 19.6 divided by 4. Now, once again, 19.6 is a fraction. The point represents a 1 below the line. 6 represents a 0, 9 represents a 0, 1 represents a 0. So when I drop the point, that's 196 over 10. Now for 4, even though it's not a decimal, we express it as a fraction, which is just 4 over 1. Okay? So now we have 196 over 10 divided by 4 over 1. And that's the same as 196 over 10. Change the multiplication sign, flip the second fraction, and now we can do this. So that's 196 times 1 over 10 times 4, which means that creates 196, and that's 14 times 14 times 1. 10 is 2 times 5, 4 is 2 times 2, and we can further break 14 down into 2 times 7 times 2 times 7 times 1 over 2 times 5 times 2 times 2. So there's a 2 at the top and a 2 at the bottom. We cancel that out for 1 and 1. There's another 2 at the top and a 2 at the bottom. We cancel that out for 1 and 1. Okay? So now what we have left is 1 times 7, which is 7. 7 times 1, which is 7. 7 times 7, which is 49. Times 1, that's 49. At the bottom, 1 times 5, which is 5. 5 times 1, which is 5. 5 times 2, that's 10. So, to convert this back to a decimal, that's 49.0. And if you're dividing by 10, you move the point to the left. Because you have 1 0 at the end, you move it 1 position. Okay, so 49 over 10 is 4.9 as a decimal. So 19.6 divided by 4 is 4.9. Okay, you should have watched the effects of zeros on a decimal point before you get here. Okay, now 2.25 divided by 2.5. Okay, so what we have is 2.25 convert to a fraction. So that's 225 over 100. And 2.5. Point represents a 1. 5 represents a 0 below the line. 2 represents a 0 below the line. So that's 25 over 10. Now you take that and we say 225 over 100 divided by 25 over 10. So that's 225 over 100. Change to a multiplication sign. Flip the second fraction. And now we're in business because that's just 225 times 10 over 100 times 25. So if I break that down, 225 is 15 times 15 times 10. That's over 100 is 10 times 10, and 25 is 5 times 5. At this point, I'm going to further break 15 down into 5 times 3 times 5 times 3 times 10 over 10 times 10 times 5 times 5. Okay, there's a 10 at the top and a 10 at the bottom. We cancel that out for 1 and 1. There's a 5 at the top and a 5 at the bottom. We cancel that out for 1 and 1. There's another 5 at the top and a 5 at the bottom. Cancel that out for 1 and 1. So at the top, all you have is 1 times 3. That's 3 times 1, that's still 3 times 3, that's 9. 9 times 1, that's just 9. At the bottom, 1 times 10, that's 10. Times 1, that's still 10. Times 1, that's still 10. So that's 9 over 10. So that's 9, written as a decimal is 9.0, divided by 10. Okay, we have to move the point one place to the left because of the division. Because we have 1 0 at the end, we move it only one place. So that's 1. So the point is in front of the 9, so that's 0.9, 0, which is 0.90, which we can just write as 0.9. Okay? 9 over 10 as a decimal is 0.9. Okay? Now, 45 divided by 1.5. 45 as a fraction. That's just going to be 45 over 1. 1.5 as a fraction. The point represents a 1 below the line. Numbers either side of the point represent zeros. So that's just drop the point, 15 over 10. So we take that and say 45 over 1 divided by 15 over 10. Okay, so when we do that, the next line of action is 45 over 1, change the sign to a multiplication, flip the second fraction, and we're on our way. So at the top, that's 45 times 10. At the bottom, that's 1 times 15. So how I do my division is a breakdown of 45 being 9 times 5 times 10 over 1 times 5 times 3. I still think the top needs a further breakdown. 9 I put as 3 and 3 times 5 times 10 over 1 times 5 times 3. So there's a 3 at the top and a 3 at the bottom. Cancel that out for 1 and 1. There's a 5 at the top and a 5 at the bottom. Cancel that out for 1 and 1. And so at the top, we just have 1 times 3. That's 3. 3 times 1, that's still 3. Times 10, that's 30. And at the bottom, we just have 1 times 1 times 1, which is 1. And so 30 over 1 is just 30. So 45 divided by 1.5 is just 30. Okay? So dividing decimals is converting the decimals to fractions. Okay? And even if they're whole numbers, express them as fractions, divide the fractions, and then if they end up as improper or proper fractions, you can convert them back to decimals. Okay? Go through the process, take your time with it, and you should be fine. Okay? Thank you very much. You've been listening to the Math Done, and until next time.